Go first, Charles. You good?
What's going on, man? My name is Charles. I'm a self-published author and a contractor. I grew up in like a construction and security environment. I met Brother Conqueror probably a year or so ago, and we've been chopping it up. I know this will be our second episode and just talk, just for general men in general. We just talk about things in this group, and we don't care about, what everybody got going on. These are just open conversations that I just like chopping it up. I know I just hit 40, and like having talked with men, whether it's reading in a book, whether it's somebody on the job, or even back in high school, a high school coach always put me up on games. So that's what we typically do. A group of men just chop it up and talk about issues that affect men, and there's a lot of game and gems in this conversation we're going to have today.
Gotcha. I turn over to my brother LeGrant. First time being on.
My name is Grant. I'm a 30-year retired Marine. Uh, After I retired, my dream was actually to get back to my community and be able to teach the young brothers early what I learned late, because a lot of times, we go out and we succeed, we make it on our own, but we don't reach back. So my goal is, I want to give back. That's my whole purpose. I retired in 2010. Since I've started 4 businesses along the way, so I understand the struggle. So I want to make sure that young brothers out there that want to win, understand, that they can, and to be able to provide them with as much help, advice, and assistance as I can. So
This is our second time doing the state of man. Ultimately, our agenda and our goal, for the most part, is to reach out to those who are less fortunate than us. What I mean by less fortunate, I'm not talking about monetary value. I'm talking about those of whom may not have had an opportunity to see life the way that we've seen it, to experience life the way that we've experienced it, and to walk differently to get 100 years ahead of where we are. If we don't do it, our community is at a standstill. If we don't do it, our community is over. It doesn't seem that way to most people because most people can't see. They just go along to get along. However, it is indicative of all of us that know, that have traveled this world and seen things from a different life and a different light and a different perspective, to offer our young men, to offer our young women something new. If we continue to fight this fight by pointing the finger at who's to blame, what will be left? So that's my second introduction. I guess we'll wait for Brother B-Ezy to jump on. If he doesn't jump on, we'll roll from that. But we could just continue the small talk and dialogue, talk about who we are, where we're from, what brought us to this point in life, some minute of our struggles, because everybody's going to have to go through their own degree of struggles, and our struggles can't be anybody else's struggles. It's an individual thing that you need to reach out to these brothers to find out how to avoid it. It is not our job to expose ourselves to the world about our shortcomings. That's foolishness. Got to reach out. Each one reach one, each one teach one. It's in your court, Brother Charles. What you got?
Um, just for small talk, I just hit 40. And I know they say age is nothing but a number, but looking back over my life and also looking forward, it's good to sometimes examine the past, but we don't live in the past. I'm just truly remarkable and excited about life, because as you stated, what we're doing here, talking and giving game to the next generation of men, like you got to get the knowledge, you got to get the gems. nobody can define who you was. And like you said, it's not our job or responsibility to expose our shortcomings. But I know one thing Brother Conker always talk about, when you examine a person or pastors or anybody, they really don't talk about their shortcomings. And, they only show you their story, but you don't really know what it took to get to that story. So for me, a little bit, listeners, I'm kind of relevant to today's subject with college or trades or just the next generation. There's so many opportunities for them, but my story is just very simple. My dad was a plumber. I hated it growing up. My dad was always making me work, and at the time, I probably hate isn't in my vocabulary, but that's what I thought about. I thought, man, I hate my dad. He always making me work. But today, at the age of 40, I'm happy for that tough love that he gave me, because now there's no reason. I don't really lay in bed. I have my mission. I have my goals. So with the next generation of men, like, I believe this quote is true, that it takes a man to raise a boy into a man. There's no other way that you can kind of see what it takes to be a man. And each man is different. Maybe a man is physically strong, but there's also men who are mentally strong. So I'm trying to be both. I'm trying to be physically strong as well as mentally strong. And I know, especially in our community, it's a lot of pressure. And I know you guys served in the military. I never served in the military, but I was in law enforcement for a while. So you got to see so much pressure on a man. Who are you? You're supposed to be this. You're not supposed to do this or that. So if there's any young listeners listen now, whether it's a single mother or a young man, just know at the end of the day, you can take bits and pieces from what other men did, but at the end of the day, it's going to all come back to you. What do you see? And the one thing I can say is life is like an artist. You see a blank canvas. I may start painting what my dad did or what my cousin did or what somebody else is doing in my neighborhood. But at the end of the day, as an artist, as a man, you're going to change your picture with time. So that's a little bit about me. I write books. And I'm just trying to give a different outlook to the next generation of men or women, because this world will never stay the same. It's always about change. And the reason I am where I'm at today is because I listen to older people. And that doesn't mean that older people always have all the answers, but in my logic, if a person has lived here longer than I have, then they can offer me two things. They probably could tell me what I should do, but they also can tell me what I should not be doing. And it doesn't mean just because somebody's older, you always have to listen to them. But I feel like older people who's already walked this path can give something to me, whether it's good or bad. So that's just my little short chatter to kind of start this conversation off as, man.
I agree with you, brother. LeGrant?
I want to hit on 2 points that you just said on, okay, real quick. And then I'm gonna move on into something else. One was, you talk about you listen to old men. Okay, cool. And that's the way life is. Life is interesting because you get to live it forward, but you get to understand it backwards, okay? And that's why we can learn so much, when we listen to our older community, because they've already been to where we got to go, okay? Which is true, and the other one, you talked about past, you talked about present, and you got to be able to look at, the past to be able to, improve the present, and one of the things I'm going to catch a lot of, I don't care, because you know what, the thing about it is, when you're speaking truth, truth is truth, and I've been speaking this since 1992, and I used to tell people in 1992, that a lot of people in our society live by what I call fixed principles. And what do I mean when I say fixed principles? Okay? Society has taught us to believe to be successful in life, you gotta go to high school, go to college, graduate from college, go into a well and get a good job. That's not true. That's not true in our society today. We live in a society today where you gotta live by what I call opportunity and circumstance. You gotta decide exactly where you want to be. And then you gotta decide exactly what it's gonna take to get you there. Okay. That may be college, and it may not be college. But the thing is, we gotta break the habits of following the norms and be able to go out and, if there's not a trail, you blaze your own trail. But in order to be successful in life today, God gave us all a gift. And the key in life is to be what God put you here to be. That may require college, it may not require. For all the young brothers out there, and I'm gonna just share a story. I was talking to my nephew, he was just graduating from school. I said, hey, what do you want to do when you graduate from high school? He said, I want to start my own business. I got excited. Because he was breaking the norm, 90% of people that go to college never even work in the field that they go into, But why do we do it? We do it because society said that's what we're supposed to do. That's not true. When he said he wanted to start his own business, I got excited, 19 years old, because I knew he had already broken the trend of what we believe we have to do because of society. God give us all a gift, and what I'm telling you is live your purpose. And once you get deep down and figure that out, you'll understand and nothing else matters. That's my intro.
Can you hear me? Well, of course, you know my intro. Most of my family, friends, are people who thought they may have known me through years, but often assume because I didn't say much, I jumped off the deep end. I was already off the deep end. I just let you assume. And here's why. I have studied the scriptures so much. I have followed so many people who thought they knew what it meant. And it meant exactly what it meant to them. But I needed to find what it meant to me. Our purpose is so deep that if we decide to follow anybody else's purpose, it'll never work. It'll never work. Never. But everybody's afraid to tell their children, the world, this stuff. They're afraid to say it. Here's why. When we sit back and watch so many fathers and or mothers who are alcoholics are out in the streets, when the children become alcoholics and out in the streets, we're quick to say they're just like their mothers and they're just like their fathers. But when a child decides to look at the streets and their mothers and their fathers and decide to say, you know what, enough's enough, I want to change and become a different person, everybody else begin to shun on them like something's wrong with them. Nobody will support the person that decide to be different. And that's what made me become a biblical scholar. That's what made me understand the parables in the Bible about the 99 and the 1. Nobody ever stops and breaks down that parable enough. They just say it like the 99 were in a safe place and the 1 was in a horrible place. How? When we see 99% of the world population in a horrible place and 1% of the population in a great place. So we got it backwards. We never went back and read the scripture where it says that 1 decided to go up into the mountain. The mountain is a higher ground, which means I ain't staying down here grazing. I'm going higher because I want fresh air. I want fresh food. I want something that other people can't eat, other people can't see. That's where God will meet you at, on higher ground. We tend to think that He's going to come down to that lower ground. No, you got to meet Him somewhere. Remember, He knows where you are. He wants you to lead. So it doesn't matter how you lead. It doesn't matter who you are. Because we've become such a judgmental world based on religion, based on faith, based on all this other weird stuff. And you don't even know what got a person to that. Maybe it was a person that posed themselves as God that forced a person into it. And then once they force him into it, now that same person and made them deny God. You gonna blame them? Or you gonna accept the fact that that person decided to say, you know what? God, I'm gonna leave you out of it for a minute. And I'm gonna leave all these other people alone. And I'm gonna decide for myself and be the one to go into the mountain. That's where I got met at. So there is no other leader in this world that can tell me anything, because I'm 48. I'll be 48 next month. I've never met one from 1 to 47 in my life that have ever rescued me from the damage that I caused and other people caused me. So you can't talk to me now because I done went to the wilderness. You don't count. And the minute we as men decide to start doing that and realize who he is in us, we'll walk in our truth with him. Another man that don't know me can't define me. You know why? Because he can't define his damn self. He's still finding himself in the scriptures every day. And the minute we get back to this power that's within us, instead of walking with other people who are outside of us to try to tell us something different, we'll get to our destiny. I never let nobody in the flesh try to tell me that they are more powerful, more anointed, no more than me, when they haven't been where I've been when I cried out to God and it was just me and him. And that's what I would echo to any man that have a gift that's inside of them. To let nobody tamper with that gift, because you're the only person that heard it. You heard it. When we keep letting people mess with our ears, we end up having itching ears. And anybody that speaks will do. We ain't getting no younger. So, in other words, we need to be wise enough to tell other people in the flesh to go play with some children. And even God warned us, don't touch my little children. So I read the Bible enough to know that I'm both. And I challenge every man to do the exact same thing. We ain't got the same gifts. We don't have the same talent. But damn it, if we would reach out to each other and build with each other, we'll see what those talents are supposed to bring together. We too divided, brother. But I know Brother B-Ezy was on there. He got a call. I know he'll come back. But back to you, Brother Charles.
Yeah, I love what you said, and I love what the other brother said about exactly what you're saying. Are people really listening to that inner gift that they have? Because society is it's definitely a lot of programming going on, man. Like when I look back over my life, especially in the school system, anytime that a person tried to deviate from that traditional pathway, them teachers, you still need college, you still need to do this or anything in life that you do. So I'm at the age of 40, I'm like you, Conquer. I still have a little ways to go, but I look to my left and I'm looking to my right. And the whole time, a lot of things that happen to our life is because you have to just trust and believe in that inner voice that you're getting to go forth and utilize your gift. And I don't want to sound like a broken record. Anybody that follow my social media, my life story is something similar to what Conker was talking about. You know, my dad had a very successful plumbing business, and I followed the pathway because so many of my aunts and uncles was in front of my face like this. You better take over your dad business. You can make a lot of money in it. And I would see like they didn't know their eyes was getting so big and just talking about the money, but I saw that their soul, their only gift was like empty. So for me, one thing I'll say, and I'm not knocking church, I'm not a religious person anymore, but sitting in all them services, they said, God give every man or woman or person their own gift. So I was like, my dad, he does plumbing. When he glue pipes, it must have been something spectacular. But when I glued them pipes and crawling under houses, it was nothing for me. I was doing it out the love for my dad because I was programmed to do that. And most sons, you do want to please your father. And when I say father, just to let the listeners know what I'm talking about, I'm not talking about just your biological father. It's no different than your high school football coach. You want to please them. If you're a running back or you're a wide receiver, quarterback, those coaches work with you Monday through Thursday. And then Friday, you want to please your coach. You want to let them know, hey, I understand why I should have did this, why I should have did that. So I know as men, I can't speak on a woman, but far as a man perspective, you do want to please somebody, but then it comes an age where again, you look around on your shoulder and you realize the only person you should be pleasing is, you know, God, which is us as well, you know, your gift. And for me, where I'm at now, there is no other satisfaction that I have except fulfilling my purpose. Nothing else kind of matters, you know. That's where I'm at. So I agree with you 100%. It's the parable of the 99 sheep and the one. I always had it backwards till I heard you break it down. A lot of people that's in that religious thing, they need to look, why did the one leave the 99 and went to that higher place? And I love, yeah. And I love the example you gave where if somebody parents was alcoholics or whatever, the minute that child say, you know what, I'm going to get out of this situation, everybody holds that person back. You need to come drink with us. You know, you a punk, come drink with us. Oh, you think you better than everybody else. I met so many people, you know, in the line of work I do where I talk to them, I said, what made you leave your hometown? What made you leave your family? And it seemed like only a few leave the known to only go into the unknown and find that thing that's better or fulfill, you know, their purpose. And I get it now. At the age of 40, I'm no longer gonna be happy unless I fulfill my purpose. You know, that's what keeps you a person going, having goals, you know, and also fulfilling it. Because if in this world, if everybody would do their true purpose, I think more people the world would continue to change, you know. If yeah, because I've heard so many parents, they live their life through their kids. That's one thing I'm happy for. My dad did not force me to take over that plumbing business. And I think now, like after all the smoke and they see what I'm doing now, a lot of people probably don't question it, you know. But that's a tough situation. I know for me, to keep it 100, being African American, I'll never forget what one of my uncles did. He tapped me on the shoulder and he said, "Listen, it ain't every day that a black man have a business to just give to his son here in America." And I was like 15 at the time, and it's like it kind of shamed me for wanting to do something else. But I'm so happy that for whatever reason, I stuck to that voice in my head to do the things that I want to do. And in learning construction and plumbing, I'm now mentoring and helping kids with that. I help family members with it, or there's a single mom and they need some work done. I do it for them and don't charge as much. But it's very important for people to learn how to be different, because if we don't, then we're going to have a lot of people on this earth not fulfilling their purpose. And I think it starts with us being able to follow that purpose, because if you don't, man, you're just going to get singularity in this life, and you slowly see it happening, like people afraid to be who they truly supposed to be.
B-Ezy, you back on, brother?
Yeah, I'm back on. I just got the camera off. I just came off a call.
Floor is yours, brother.
So what's on the table right now, brother?
Hey, anything you want to talk about based on what you heard before you got that call, man? You know we ain't gonna shortchange you. You jump on in, you got it.
I think like one of the main things that it was 3 points that we had on the notes, and one of them was the wilderness mindset and what is the wilderness mindset and how to get out of it. So that's like one of the questions that I wanted to pose on the table.
You want to shoot first, and then we'll go back around?
Charles, you, then I come.
Well, just the wilderness, it can mean so many things, but it's really simple. I like using sports analogies to try to explain stuff simple. It's like a basketball player could have practiced a certain new move that we've never seen before. It's 5 seconds left on the clock. It's the fourth quarter. If he doesn't make this shot, his team loses. The wilderness is just about blocking out all of the noise and staying focused on what you need to do. And as a man, there's so many distractions that can happen. Just you developing into a man, or people get married, you know, young, having a child, having a job. To me, the wilderness is kind of similar to a sports player. You got to block out all the noise and just do your thing on the court, or as in life. So there are periods in time, just as a bear go hibernate for a while during the winter, men or anybody that wants to do a certain task, you have to eventually block out all the noise and some of those distractions. And sometimes it's very hard to do in today's world. You know, everybody got a phone, your job and stuff, but as a man, that's where the strength and the power is going into the wilderness, because when you're alone, there's no one else there to take you off your path. That's what I think about the wilderness.
In scripture, when I was reading and studying it, I remember when they were saying that when Moses had got the Jews from Egypt, that God had them wander for 40 years. And the two key points that I took away from it was because of faith and obedience. So when I look at a lot of people and look at the world today, so many different people are still stuck in the wilderness. And Charles kind of touched on a few things. Wilderness could be materialistic stuff, status, social network, and people get so caught up on things that's not important. And a lot of times, God will put you in the wilderness, and that once you kind of start putting things in line, putting Him first, start understanding what your purpose is, and start focusing on the things that you need to focus on, that's when you're kind of led out of that path. But 90% of the people that I talk to that have a lot of problems, a lot of them have this wilderness mindset. That's like one of the things about the red pill group, and how women is, women act. You got the feminists, and you got all of these different things. And people are getting so tied up, even like with the election that just came by, and how it's affecting different people. The most important thing that I learned on this journey since I've been to myself for the past 3 years is that God put me in this place because He wanted me to understand that I was made in His image. 2, He wanted me to see that all of this stuff that you thought was important really is not important. Once I was able to become obedient, and once I started having faith and I started walking in the direction I needed to walk to, the next thing you know, the path that was in the wilderness was wide open and was right to the right. So whenever you're starting to notice that you're spinning tires, you need to take that time out, like Charles said, and stay to yourself, fast, line up with the Father, and find out what your purpose is. And anything that's kind of negating you getting out of that, getting on that right path, you have to cut those particular things off. When you're starting to look at the things that's going on in your life, are these things important? Are these things going to help me get to the goal? And then it's also important to make sure you have the right people around you that's going to hold you accountable, and you can motivate and push one another. That's one of the things I love about Kevin. Conqueror. His Conqueror is no punch, he ain't gonna hold no punches. And he holds me accountable, right, wrong, and indifferent. And the thing is that the reason why he does that is because he loves me. And you need to have those kind of guys that's in that corner. Understanding when you take this path and you're trying to get through, you're gonna be by yourself. You have to be able to get to deal with that, understand that the bigger goal is that when God created us, He didn't create us to do all of this foolishness. He created us for a purpose. He created us to work. He created for us to get some work done in order for His kingdom to be ran the appropriate way, if that makes sense. So that's what I take away with the wilderness mindset.
Wow, I mean, it's a lot of things that have been said. I've been listening, and obviously, a lot of great points. And I'm going to go back to one of the things that I probably said earlier. Okay, if you look at our society today, society will make you feel that in order to be successful, you got to go to high school, you got to graduate, you got to go to college, you got to graduate, then you got to go out into the world and get a job. Okay, and then you work until you 70 years old and retire. To me, that's preparing you for a life of mediocrity. Again, I believe that we live in a society where you got to decide, because we all got different gifts. God give us all different gifts. You got Michael Jordan, great basketball, that's a gift. You got Michael Jackson, great singer. That's a gift. We're not all gonna be basketball players and singers, but we all have a gift. And the key in our society is to figure out What is your God-given gift? You know, and most of us don't. Most people get up, go to a job every day, working for 30, 40 years, and retire and live a life. Why? Because they never figure out their true purpose here on life. And that purpose is different for all of us. And the key is to figure out, why are you here? What are you supposed to be doing? You know? And once you figure that out, everything else will fall into place. And I want to hit on something Conker said earlier about Christianity. You know, Christianity is a way of life. You know, it's not about going to some church every Sunday, dropping on your knees, praying to a God that's in the sky. Because why? Because God said, I live within you. I have given you everything that you need to achieve anything in this world that you want. So when you're looking for me, go inside. I'm there. Okay. I've already given you the answers. I just need you to go in there and figure it out. But that's life. We all got a purpose here. And the goal is, is to figure that purpose out. And we got to break the paradigm, because the paradigm is we're so caught up into what society say is the way we're supposed to live our life that we don't even question it, you know? Or you gotta eat breakfast early in the morning, you gotta eat lunch, no, live life on your own terms. Be who you are. Be who you want to be. Make your own rules. That's why we're here. Let's quit living the script and let's get out there and become, that person and create the thing that God put us here to do.
I do a lot of writing because I do a lot of research, and I do a lot to protect my intellectual property, because what I'm doing, I'm not doing for me. I'm actually doing it for my children and my children's children. We all have vision, and there ain't nobody telling us what to think. We thinking this on our own. We've experienced a lot. We've gone through a lot. And there's nobody or anything that can tell us anything different. We're going to live this thing how we want to live it. Because we've seen so many other people try to direct us a certain way and it didn't work. And that's why we are all the way we are right now. And they would think that we are radical. And we're not. We just free thinkers. We are free men that decide to say, you know what? I found God on my own path and nobody can tell me I'm wrong. I'm very cautious to tell another man he's wrong. You know why? Because I don't know what he's been through. I don't know how this world may have broken his spine in half. Just like I'll be damned if I let somebody else try to tell me I'm wrong based on my understanding. I can comprehend and I can read. But I will say this, and I quote, inside every billionaire is a broken man. And inside of every broken man is a billionaire. The only difference is, can they figure out the broken man? We figured it out. Now, whether we live long enough to get to the opportunity is a different thing, but we figured it out. Sadly, we figured this out in our 40, 50, 60. Nobody ever taught us. And we're embarking on this new generation in which we're attempting to save. And when I say save, I'm not talking about salvation. That is God and Jesus' job. That ain't our job. All we do is lead them to a greater path. That's not our job. But to get them to see a better life, a life without struggle, a life without pain, a life without mental anguish, a life without blame and shame, to wake up in their teens and 20s and 30s and decide to get it out of the mud, this is what we're really up against. These are the things that we know. We know. They don't. These are the same knuckleheads in 5, 10, 15 years will look at men like us and want to knock you upside your head to take what you got, because nobody ever taught them how to work hard for it. So how do we go back to fixing the state of man and or getting man to refocus themselves on the dangers, not just that are imposed on the younger generation, but the younger generation that can impose that upon us. Because remember, we want to be rescuers and we want to be saviors and we want to help everybody, but we got to be able to see. We have to be able to see. Regardless of how difficult this world is and what it's doing right now in today's society, if we are supposed to be the changing faces of it, the changing voices of it, we got to make sure that we can last. We can't be the sacrificial lambs, because if we have the answers, we got to push the answers forward. Too many of us want to be the sacrificial lamb at 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 years old. Hell no. Remember, everybody that's going to go by the wayside, going to go by the wayside anyway. So how do we separate ourselves to be those men that we're talking about, to carry this message forward, to save the next couple generations, to continue to write our names in the Lamb's Book of Life? You're no good dead, them reading about you. But everything that you got in you is incomplete. There's a scripture in the Bible say, how could a man die before his time? It's easy. They can. This ain't our time. This is our season. Everything that has already taken place within what they call the church, which are the buildings, is backfiring on them because they never addressed everything that took place 50, 60, 70 years ago. They can't hide from it. Thank God we weren't a part of it, because we wouldn't be able to talk. I can speak freely. And this is the message that we push forward. It doesn't always have to be one based on a church, but we all carry a spirit of God that's so powerful that we can educate people at every single level. You don't have to be a Jesus freak. Can you get somebody off the corner? You don't have to be a Bible thumper. Can you grab somebody and teach them something different to keep them from doing something ill to destroy themselves or somebody else? Can you be a person that understands God and say, you know what, I made these mistakes. This ain't gonna work out in your favor. Or could you be a complete failure and say, don't follow me? All those are signs of what God is trying to send on this earth, but nobody don't want to step up and do it. Everybody want to act like they're above it. When we can do that, we can truly address the state of man. And it's absolutely imperative that every voice that's upon this call, and the ones that were, from the previous call, the ones that's going to be on the additional call, is to understand the call. Like, we're all called to do something. We ain't all called to do the same work. We're not called to do the same work. But watch this. Can we meet in the same place and say, hey, man, did you stop somebody from doing X, Y, and Z? That's his work. We too busy thinking that we can go to church. Man, look here. I'm going to say, I'm going to slip. I'm going to save it for another topic. But the church ain't what you think it is. Because if it were, they would have been speaking about this a long time ago. They would not have been allowing all the crap to go on the way that it is. How can you judge the world when the world show up in the church and you celebrate it? You are no different from a club promoter. I'd rather own a club. I digress. But y'all,
Yeah, man, just to touch on, and I don't want to butcher this up, man, but you said inside of every millionaire, there's a broken man, and then vice versa. Within a broken man, there's even a billionaire. It's up to man to figure out, you know, which side of the coin he's on. And that's what I'm loving about life. I don't even like bringing his name up, but I look at Elon Musk, or anybody, as my man said, Michael Jordan. Those people, even Michael Jordan's story, I get tired of hearing it. He was cut from his varsity team, but look at him now. Like, that's the wonderful thing about life, is that there's so many examples. I don't see how in today's generation, with the technology and everything, that a person can't see that they should pursue their gift above all anything else, versus, as my man said, the traditional pathway: go to high school, go to college. So I'm just excited, even hearing your story, Conquer, and other past conversations, you always talk about it. Like, a lot of people they're not willing to speak as we're speaking today on not even necessarily a fault, but just truth, like the journey of life, how much work you have to do on self, you know? So I'm just amazed too. And again, like you said, it's not sad, but I love how you said I'm getting it now. I just hit 40. Some of y'all may be in your 50s, but just imagine if a young man can get it at his 20s. And I know sometimes it's tough because my barber told me this when I was 15. He was like, I'm trying to get you to see further, but right now, for example, I can say there's a man that's with a gun that's right out that barber shop. Don't get up from this chair. He said, you wouldn't believe me till you get up out the chair, go around the corner of his barber shop, and the man's standing there with the gun. So I guess it's truly faith. Because even me looking back now, it has to be faith for somebody to tell you what you need to be doing to get to your purpose, but you won't believe it till you actually see it. So I feel like if where I'm understanding now 40 with my spiritual mind, even with the physical eye, like if you have blinders on and you just listen, even a blind man could listen to this conversation, what we're talking about, and he'll be able to get the game. So it's definitely I look at life as a game, but you just got to use your spiritual glasses to see these things before they happen.
And I don't want to break the cycle of communication, but I would say this. You always have to put a disclaimer out here because we are amongst weak men. We are amongst effeminates. We are amongst those of whom will try to take the word as it's written and try to find fault in it instead of finding truth in it. So with that being said, when I say the things that I say, I'm not talking about every pastor in the world. Hell, I don't know every pastor in the world. Don't want to know. Don't want to. But I know some great pastors. Trust me, I do. I won't call their names, but I know some great. I know one down in Albany, Georgia. I'm gonna leave that there. That's on fire. I know some in the Carolina. That's on fire. If they're listening to it, some of them, I might not be talking about you. I don't hesitate to tell the truth, but I know some great ones. And for the ones that are doing the work, they understand. The ones that are not, they hide their hand. It's written. I'm just bold enough to say what's in the Bible because I've studied for so many years. I'm not afraid to say it. It's in there. It's the same Bible you use every single Sunday. So don't get mad at prosecuting everybody else and you can't prosecute yourself. You in there. God talking to you the same way he talking to me, same way he talking to you, same way he talking to everybody that's upon. He talking to everybody. Ain't no pastor exempt. So if you think you exempt from the word, you might well throw it in the trash and go on about your life. Correction is correction. And the minute we decide to accept this correction, we'll probably stop passing judgment. Because see, I know why some people act the way they act. I know why some people do the things they do. They done tried it your way and had 50 of you and y'all all bamboozled. Now you the savior and everybody's supposed to listen to you. No, I'd rather deal with God my way. And that's what we've become. We are now attacking everybody else in the world because they own things and doing things, but you ain't attacking everybody else that you can see on social media doing things that ain't got nothing to do with the Bible. We ain't seen one scripture that you ever said about nobody else. So why could you chastise any individual man that studied for themselves and find God within themselves? And God told them, build your kingdom for yourself. And these men now are building a kingdom and you're mad because it ain't the way you would build it. You got concubines too. I said it. It needs to be said. Somebody like you, Brother Charles, wouldn't feel as bad in your life, thinking that you're doing the wrong thing. Somebody like anybody else on this call wouldn't think they're doing the wrong thing. listening to everybody else who just collecting money from you, making you feel shameful while they ride off into the sunset. Brother B-Ezy?
Those some great points, brother. I think the next question that we had to throw on the table is to piggyback on what we just finished talking about. What would you tell your younger self now from all the things that you learned from your journey? So to keep the, huh?
Go ahead. I want you to call. You're the moderator. I want you to call all the names, and we keep it in order, brother. We follow you, my
All
man.
right, Charles, you go first, and then I can't remember the brother name in the corner.
Brother LeGrant.
LeGrant, how you doing, brother? Brother LeGrant, and then we finish with me and then Kevin.
Okay, what I tell my younger self, and again, just for all the listeners, I just hit 40. So I'm an 80s baby, born in 84. So I just hit 40. So I'm probably the baby of this thing. But what I would tell my younger self is just confidence, man. And again, it's so tough. And I'll hit y'all with a quote. I'm from the South. That's why me and Brother Concord get along. He from South Carolina, I'm from North Carolina. But I remember an old lady told me something once. She said, Charles, when you in your 20s, she said, you care about what everybody has to say about you. You really care. You're trying to find your way in life. She said, when you're 40, you don't care what people say. You're trying to get your money. And that's about where I'm at now. I'm trying to finish up corporate America and all that. And then she said, when you turn 60, you'll look around and realize nobody was caring the whole time. So what I would tell, again, my younger self is just confidence. But it takes time to build confidence up. So if a young person could really just stick on confidence, don't be afraid to break the mold. It'll just get you quicker to where we're all at here. If a young person could get the knowledge and the experience all the men on this call has received now, it makes your life that much better. It's not going to be easy, but I would just say confidence. And me, I was raised in the South. Oh, respect your elders. Do as your parents say. That much is true. But sometimes it's what we're talking about, purpose. Even again, I'm not religious, but I was raised in the South. When they talk about Jesus and his youth, he said, I'm about my father's business. Jesus, Mary's looking for you. He said, who's my mother? I'm about my father's business. So me personally, I always had that voice in my head, but I was scared to make a move because people are telling you better not do that. You're gonna fail. You gotta wait. Oh, you gotta pray about it. You don't want to make a mistake. Young people, if you can hear me, don't be afraid to make a mistake because that's how you learn, and just confidence. No matter what you're doing in life, if you're going for a bank loan and you want to start a business, go for it. Don't do the traditional pathway of college. You got to trust and believe in yourself. And the more you do it, the better you would be. So the one thing I would say with my own self, younger self, I would have just had more confidence and boldness, but at the same time, respect my elders. But there come a point in time as a man where you're going to have to face the music, and just believe in yourself.
You're next, brother. He over there rubbing the dome. I hear you.
I'll start this off to say that, people don't realize how hard it is to speak the truth to a world full of people that are used to living a life. Why do I say that? And I've said it a couple of times here. Society would have us convinced that the only way we can win is to go to high school, go to college, graduate, and go out into the world and get a good job. That's not true. Society has prepared us to live a life of mediocrity. But I would tell a young brother or a young sister today, you can be anything in this world you want to be. Decide. Get with your friends, get with your family. Decide what's your gift from God. Why are you here? What were you put here to do? And once you figure that out, put every ounce of energy you got and drive and determination and going out into the world and making that become a reality. Everybody got goals and dreams. You can talk to anybody in the street. They can tell you about all the great things they got planned and they want to do. But what's missing in our society today is the discipline that it takes to make those goals and dreams become reality. It don't just happen. Okay? It requires sacrifice. I mean, I was talking to somebody about Conqueror today, okay? Because we've been friends for a long time. We've been, you're like, where's Conqueror? I said, well, he's handling his business. What you mean handling? But I ain't seen him in a while. Let me explain something to you. When you're on a journey, you got to be able to pull yourself away from the crowd. You got to be able to pull yourself away from the streets. You got to be willing to invest the time, the effort that it takes to make those dreams become reality. Everybody got a dream, but everybody got the drive it takes to make those dreams come a reality. Talking to my young brothers and sisters out there, hey, look, make that sacrifice. Build in your 20s, build in your 30s. In your 40s, you should be on cruise control. In your 50s, you should be retired. You shouldn't be working. When I go in the streets, I see somebody 70 years old, and they start their grinding hard. You didn't do it right. Okay. You should be, that's the point of your life where you should be enjoying yourself, enjoying all the fruits of your labor. Don't waste your 20s and your 30s. Build now. And I promise you, the rest of your life you'll be able to enjoy it. But that's my take on it.
That was pretty good. I don't know how I can follow that up. I guess I got to make a few adjustments. I think the first thing I would tell my younger self is nothing is more important than establishing that relationship with God. I know no matter how many interviews we do, you're going to keep hearing me say that until the cows come home. That was one of the worst mistakes that I made, is that I should have focused more on developing a relationship with God. We was made in his image. That's where my power, my discernment, and he's the one who established my purpose. Nothing is more important than building that relationship with God. And a lot of times when I was younger, different things sidetracked me to keep me from having that connection. Once you have that connection with God, he's gonna give you the strength, the power, the direction. He's gonna be the one to help you make those paths straight. And it's kind of just like, if, I don't know how many of us got kids, but nothing is better that which you have a child, my son, and my son made me proud because of the fact of how he walks, how he does things. He comes to me to talk to me in order to get information on certain things that he's dealing with in his life. And I'm noticing that he's getting further and doing better. And the reason why that had happened is that relationship with me and my son. And one of the biggest problems I have sometimes today is how society try to remove the father. And whenever the father is not in the home, everything is disarray. So if you can see that even in this earthly sense, then how much more important it is to have that relationship with the father. So nothing is more important than that. The next thing is keep like-minded people around you, but in parentheses, don't have people who are yes men. Make sure that you have some brothers, young, old, or whatever the case may be. Have some like-minded brothers, but it has to be people who are willing to tell you what you need to hear versus what you want to hear. It's so important to have those people, because when each person is keeping the other one accountable, whenever you run into certain situations, Proverbs also spoke of, you have a friend nearby versus going past that friend to go to a family member. And you notice that when Moses was dealing with the people when he was getting them from Egypt, the thing was his father-in-law gave him counsel. He told him a better way and how he can do what he needed to do. And that's one of the things that I was saying, is making sure that you have like-minded people, and also having people who can point certain things out and not tell you what you need to hear, but what you need to hear, not what you want to hear. Another thing, I was the only child, and I don't know why it took until I turned to 54 years old. Have a servant mindset, man, than having self mindset. Each one of us, I forgot which one of the brothers said it. We're all a part of the body. We all were created for a particular purpose. If each one of us only thought about ourselves and we was in our own corner, how can anything get done? When you have more of a servant mindset, that I'm here to serve. I'm here to serve my community. Like right now, I'm at work, and I'm a public servant. Our job is when he created us, is not to sit us on his lap. Let me give you everything you want. Tell me everything you want. Let me just give you. No, we was created for a purpose. And the thing that's so beautiful about being a man, he put us in a particular place when Adam was created. Conquer, what's the first thing he had Adam do? He put him to work, right? He started putting them to work. I need you to start naming these people. I need you to do this, that, and the third. Hey, I'm gonna give you a helpmate. He put Adam to work. And the thing is that a lot of people that come to me for advice, I'm noticing that the reason why they're having an issue, if you looked at life and being more of a servant than always worrying about yourself, life is much more fulfilling when you serve. Now, you're going to come across people in situations. Jesus said, if you go to this particular house and they don't want to accept it, what did he say, Calvin? Knock the dirt off your sandals and keep it moving. If you develop them, and this is what I would tell my younger self, because I was selfish and I was spoiled, you really need to turn your mind to a servant mindset, because all of the men that I looked up to that was powerful, it was more about everyone else than about themselves. And I think that's huge. The fourth one is I was reading a book, it was saying in life, you're going to have to suffer. So you got to make a decision that you're going to suffer early or you're going to suffer late. And what they mean by suffering mean working hard and sacrificing, giving up what you need to give up. The brother in the corner brought up a good point where they're saying you got to go to high school, you got to go to college, you got to do this, you got to do that. That's the matrix mindset that they want all of us to follow. But what I would tell my younger self, cut everything off and hit your purpose and grind. Sacrifice now so that when you get to child age or 40, you can sit back and do what? Reap the seeds from your hard work. So that's one of the things that I would tell myself is that, sacrifice early and suffer early so that you can enjoy the fruits of your labor later. The other thing is goals, making sure that I'm goal oriented. I think in Proverbs, it's saying a man who making moves and he don't have goals, you pretty much just wasting your time. Make sure you have goals, and then make sure that you talk to the people that are around you, mentors and different people, to orient your goals so they can be hittable, and don't be scared to make a mistake. When you make mistakes or certain things go wrong, that's where your testimony comes from, and that's where your strength and your growth comes from. So make sure that you're goal oriented and not just running around doing whatever, and talk to other individuals in your circle or mentors to help direct you in what you need to do. Impact your community. Each one of us is in different areas. Kalana, I'm in DC. When God created us, he created us to be in that particular area to do certain work for the people that's there. And when you look at a lot of the guys that are heavy grinders that I look up to, it's kind of leaving that stamp or that imprint where Kevin has said, I'm doing this not for myself. I'm doing this for my kids and my kids' kids. Make sure that whatever you do, impact your community, impact your area, and make sure that the things that you do within your life from that youth all the way up, because when you're younger, you can do a lot more, that is some type of impact. The other thing is making sure integrity, morals. When I was coming up, I really didn't care about a whole lot. It was about me doing whatever I needed to do, but nothing is more important than a man that has integrity and have certain goals and guidelines. And the reason why that's important, it can help keep you from dealing with the wrong type of women, being with the wrong type of people. And the only thing that makes a difference in life today for a real man is a man to stand on his word and integrity and making sure that he have morals. Live your life to its fullest, work hard, but make sure you rest. When God created the earth, he picked one day to rest. So make sure that when you're working hard, Don't make people make you feel guilty if you take a trip to get yourself together, to collect your thoughts for meditation, reset some of your goals, and then get back on it. And one of the mnemonics that I like to use is rest, reset, reflect, reload. And whenever I'm in my rest mode, the thing I'm doing is I'm resting, I'm sitting back, reflecting over some of the things that's going on. Then I reset and then I reload and I get back at it. So those are some of the key things that I would tell myself. And if you notice, that's the last one is be very selective about your helpmate. You're a king and this is your kingdom. You have to be very, very, very careful in your vetting process and what woman you let into your life. We've seen many stories and how a great man was taken down because they had the wrong person with them. Make sure that you take as much time as you need to vet this person, because whoever that partner is very important in what you're doing. If you have a good helpmate, my grandmother was a Proverbs 31 woman. Uh, that woman can really help you unlock another level and can help you achieve a lot of things that you need to achieve. But too many times, brothers are getting caught up in looks and clapping cheeks and having an arm piece. No, if you're gonna let somebody in your space, be very, very selective in who you choose to be your helpmate. Because just like scripture said, if you find a good one, you found one indeed. And Solomon said, hey, I met 1,000 women. I ain't found one virtuous one, but I met 1,000 men and I found one. So if you constantly seeing in scripture and Proverbs saying, I would rather walk the sands to be with a contentious woman. I'd rather be on top of a roof to be with a contentious woman. The woman will eat the last piece of meat, wipe her mouth, and look at you like she did something wrong. Proverbs 5, talking about her paths and how she moved. Looking at Proverbs 31, seeing all of the different things that's listed. Make sure that you pay attention, because if all of these great men of God and all of the other different people are saying how this woman can take you down, be very selective in who you choose and take as much time as you need. And if you really have that relationship with God and you got those good brothers and stuff around you, they can help guide you and make sure that you're making the right decisions. So I don't want to take up too much time, but that's my short list. Hope it was helpful.
Very.
It's on you, Kevin, Mr. Conklin.
If I could talk to my younger self, I would tell my younger self, you saw this before. You heard it all before. You were delayed because you didn't listen to it and you didn't pay attention to it. Now that you have an opportunity to do it again, don't waste your time or my damn time either. And it'll be just that simple. When you can hearken your heart and your ears and your eyes upon what the voice has already spoken to you, you know that you were chosen as a child. You know that you were spoken to as a child, and all the warnings were already given to you. But it was those same warnings that I had to fail, struggle, and get to this point. I wouldn't be here if it were not written. That means that my children and grandchildren wouldn't be able to celebrate it when I'm gone. So I'm grateful for what I didn't hear, what I ignored. I'm also grateful for what I heard and what I'm doing. Because he said, be ye not hearers of the word only, but be ye doers of the word. I heard the word all my life. I just heard people repeat it. But I also knew when I was a child, there was something to do. There was something attached to it. And I never saw anybody do it. they will follow it. So I'm glad that I was spared long enough to get back to doing exactly what I heard. I hold no malice. I'm not upset. I'm not angry. I'm not blamed. I'm not ashamed. I'm grateful. And for that, that's why I've been spared. Now I can move on to the next chapter of my life and continue to build because I know what it looks like. You can't, when you know it, nobody can short circuit this. And I aim with that. Which one of y'all brothers want to bring it out with a play? You got something to add, B?
Yeah, I think the last one I want to ask, because I'm pretending like we're just sitting in the lounge talking to one another.
Right.
The question I want to ask everyone is how do you stay encouraged when you're going down that narrow path? I was looking at a video of Miles Monroe, and he was saying that when you start taking that path, you're going to be very lonely. You're going to lose a lot of people, and that it's going to be difficult. But it's worth it once you get to the other side because leaders draw people to them. So for the people who are tuning in and they making that change, what are some of the things that keep you encouraged when you are taking that narrow path, when you're breaking away from the matrix and you're breaking away from the mainstream? And what is it that you use as that drive to keep you going as you're going through that path?
For me, it's easy. Because I was raised in the building and I've gone through so many leaders. And I realized that at the end of the day, once I begin to study to find that it is me and me alone that got to meet the master and meet the maker face to face. Excuse my French. God don't want to hear shit about the 99 preachers I had in my life. He don't want to hear nothing. He don't want to hear nothing about anybody that led me down a straight, a crooked path. You know he want to hear? What did you do? So I need to make sure my doing is great enough for our conversation. I don't want to hear nothing. He doesn't want to hear where I was led because he's going to say, son, can you read? And I have to say yes. Then why didn't you study to show yourself approved? The way that I understand the word, that's how I dissect it. I am 47, almost 48. Man, I ain't got time to waste with nobody else. No, I don't have time to waste with nobody else trying to tell me I'm wrong. I separated myself over 15 years to find out the right way, which was reading his word. If I got it wrong, it is him and him alone that's going to tell me I'm wrong. Anybody in the flesh that err, miss me. Because you got it wrong all your life until one point in your life, you just finally happened to find him. It could have been the day before you died. I'm talking to him. I ain't talking to you. I don't need a middleman. There is no middleman. Because most of them, they all made of flesh the same way. So how can somebody that got their hands stuck in the cookie jar that I'm trying to take my hands out of the cookie jar gonna tell me my hands are dirtier than his? I'm done with it. So I go straight to him. I read the word. I find out what it is. I discipline myself. And I get back to work. But see, I ain't got to pay nobody to tell me I'm wrong. And I sure don't have to pay nobody to tell me I'm right. That's why I don't go to these buildings. Because you can't pay your way into heaven. You damn sure can't buy your way out of hell. If you can do it, what's the price? Because shit, I'm going to work for it now and get up, get it over with. Wouldn't we all? The cost is you to make a decision. I've made my decision. So nobody in the flesh can tell me nothing. I don't want to hear it. I'm done. I done seen too many people lose houses and cars behind it. They got all that anointing in the world to touch everybody, but they can't touch their bank account. They can't save their house. They can't save their car. They can't even save their own children, but they can touch everybody else and say that their people are wrong. Y'all better stop all of that because it's not even written. Man let them do this crap, and it's not written in the word. So that's why I know the word, and I ain't got time to play with nobody. I do it by myself. If I'm wrong, guess who got to answer me? God. And guess who I got to answer to? God. And guess what he's going to say? Son, you may have erred, but at least you didn't fall for nobody else's crap. That's my answer.
Come on,
And I
Charles.
will teach nobody no different.
Man, Brother Easy, when you asked that question, I said the same exact thing what Conker said. If you would have asked me that 20 years ago or even in my 30s, because I don't have experience, I would say, well, you got to do this. It's easy. Anybody who's listening to this call, it's easy. Maybe not physically and maybe not mentally, but when you have the spiritual eye, that's it. There's nothing else. Whatever your dreams or goal is, and I love Jim Rohn. He said, "Can you start something that's finished?" And the answer is yes. Whatever your goal, whatever your dream, even if you just have a thought, I want to make it to the NBA, it's finished. But guess what? You got to endure. That means if you in high school in the summer, while people at pool parties, while people playing, you could be like Kevin Durant and running up some hills and building up that endurance. So I know for me now, like it's just the fact of knowing. Like right now, I can't live with myself knowing what I could be accomplishing. And all it is the work. And what I'm learning is through labor is where you get results. But if people don't want to put in that work, I love the work. And I know like Tupac, I heard he could write a song on toilet paper in 5 minutes. He loved being in the studio. And when you work a craft so good, it doesn't become work, it becomes purpose. So that's where I'm at. Even with my job, I'm literally a robot, guys. I do the same thing every day and try to go above and beyond. Some of my coworkers be like, why are you doing this? You only get paid so much. I say it ain't even about the job. It's just about me. So I used to be a runner, not short distance because I'm pretty tall. But long distance, I used to love just running. No different. I never served in the military, but I know we got two brothers in the Marine Corps. I heard y'all PT all the time. And it would be a joy to me if I could keep up with the PT instructor. Once you push yourself through that limit, to me, it really does come easy with consistency. So when you ask that question, Brother Ease, I love how Brother Conker just said it's easy, and it's true. The answer is it is easy once you align your mind with purpose, it becomes easy. And I really don't want to take this out of context, but I got to salute 50 Cent, not so much on this quote, but what it really means. He said, get rich or die trying. At the end of the day, and again, as Conker said, I grew up in those buildings. They always kept saying, blah, 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 the end is death. Death is coming to all of us, whether you're a believer or non-believer. So nobody ain't getting out of this thing free. So you might as well, like a racehorse, hit when that blocks open up like a racehorse, you better hit that block and run hard. And that's what just keeps me going, man. I was a former law enforcement officer, and the first time I ever got pepper sprayed, it did affect me. My eyes burning, I can't see psychologically. But the next time we did it, there was like, who want to go first? I said, I'll go first, spray me. I start doing push-ups. I said, this ain't nothing. I eat this pepper spray for breakfast and keep on going. Everybody was like, oh my gosh, what's wrong with them? Like, when you get in that mindset, it's really easy, bro. It's really easy. So I love Conquer Answer, and I have to concur. It does become easy, but it's really not a physical thing. It's like lifting weights. It's all mental and psychological. Like you really got to hype yourself up and it's finished. Whatever goal you want is finished, but are you willing to do the work? And we all got get rich quick schemes is all thrown people. Oh, on social media, I made $1 million in 1 month. If it was that easy, everybody would be doing it.
That's right.
So yeah, so what Brother Easy question is, I would say it's easy to keep endurance. I would have to say you really can't be emotional. You got to be psychological, spiritual welfare to keep going and going. And that's what keeps me going now. And like Conker said, there's nobody coming to save us. And that's the thing. They love to say, be saved, be saved. But as Conker said, people can't even be saved from getting a car repossessed or saving their kids. So the way I look at it, it's really easy, but you got to stay focused and locked in. Yes, I'm gonna get tired. For example, I volunteer with hospice now, so I'm seeing people transition, but the mind is what keep a person going. Even if I was confined to a wheelchair, I'm still going to be doing something. I'm going to be trying to learn another foreign language and just keep going to the end. So even with 50 Cent quote, get rich or die trying, not so much talking about money, but at the end of the day, I think if we take an accountability that we're not all going to be here one day, it would give you the drive to keep pushing. That's my answer. It's easy. How to stay
Now,
motivated.
I don't want to be rude or cut the other brother off. I want to ask a question. You said you work hospice. When
Mhm.
you are with the patients that are transitioning, what did you notice that was familiar with the ones who had peace, ones who accepted it and they had peace and they settled? What are some of the things you noticed in your interaction with them? Why do they have this peace? And what are some of the things that stood out?
Uh, uh, it's rare that I found peace because a lot of people didn't want to surrender and give up this beautiful thing, the magic of life being here. But the one that I did, I recently had somebody, their last dying wish, I live in Hawaii, they wanted to go to the beach. It's called Waikiki. A lot of tourists go there and see fireworks. And it was amazing, even though this person was enjoying life, all of the caregivers that we're working and looking at them, you could just see the joy of fulfillment. The person told me that they lived their best life. They're satisfied. They can go. But the people who did not live, they got regrets. You can see them
Mhm.
holding on to this thing called life. And right now, if I go, I could keep it a buck 100. If I go right now, I'm at peace because I know
Boom.
that I push. I push
That's
hard.
what I wanted to get from you.
I just couldn't
Hmm.
push hard enough, but I'm at peace now and I'm surrendering to it. And I know, and again, I grew up in the church, but I'm not religious. I'm not religious, but that's the one thing they put on, like you're gonna be saved from death. I think that's the promise. And I volunteer at hospice, because I want to be a part of the community, like you said. So I volunteer my free time. I don't even get paid for it, but it's a joy for me to ask those people, hey, do you have any regrets in life? And some of them do. And then some of them tell me, Charles, I can 100% tell I did my thing while I was here on earth. So for me to understand that now, like it gives me that much more energy to keep pushing forward with life. But there are people that I see it. I see it in their eyes, bro. They're not ready to leave this place because they got unfinished business. But now
Hmm. Hmm.
yeah. So now that I understand it, and again, growing up in the building, aka church, they make it look like just because, quote unquote, you saved, you're gonna avoid death. But nah, every death is coming to all of us. And if you know that you gave your all, there's no other reason to be here. If you gave your all, you're finished. So that's how I look at it, man. So I love that question. What you asked, how to stay motivated? I say death in itself is motivation to do the things you're supposed to be doing.
I'm sorry, bro. I didn't want to be rude, but I wanted to get that part out because when
Hey,
he when
you
he
work
was
there.
saying that he was talking to the people in hospice, the thing that I noticed is when I have patients that's transitioning, the ones that's happy and they're good, they live their life, everything is in place, and they at peace with it. They lived every day to its fullest. They left with no regrets and they was accepting it. But the ones that you see with all of this crime and all of this other stuff is because they wasted so much time that God had gave them. What did you
Right.
do with that time I gave you? What did you do? Like, brother, I know that was one of the things you said, we're the part of the body. What did you do with the gifts I gave you? I gave you all of this time. I gave you all of these people that you can help. And all you did, you created more problems and you just sat around and you waste your time. And those are
Right.
the ones who be like, oh man, this, that, and the third. But all of the ones that had peace, man, you look back now I want the other brother to say his piece. It was a guy I went to his funeral. He was a quiet dude, man. And it was like 30 people lined up talking about different things he did. This brother used to take out time with handicapped people, play basketball with them. He used to go over certain people's houses and cook. He used to mentor. He donated X amount of money to some foundation. He sponsored a kid to go on some kind of trip. You know how they got that exchange thing where you can go to another country and stuff like that. This brother, Kevin, was only 30 years old, bro. And by the time this one guy that was handicapped, he started crying and he said, Randy, I finally did it. I'm standing. What happened was he used to go with him in rehab to help him with his prosthetic legs. And that was the first time he stood when he was at the funeral. And I'm talking about white, Hispanic, Black. It was a person who was a heroin addict, and he used to always check on him and spend time with him. He got off of heroin. And I said, this young brother at 30 did more than what most men that was 70 or 80 years old did. And when he passed away, he talked to everyone like he knew it was coming. And when we went to go to his room, he was in peace. But this young brother, no one knew how much work he put in and how many lives he touched. Again, you don't supposed to let the left hand know what the right hand was doing, but all of that volunteer work. So I didn't want to cut the brother off. That's huge, and anyone who's listening. And then when you said about the hospice, that's why it's so important to live your life to its fullest and handle your purpose. And when you have this time here, make it count. Because look at how many lives this man touched. And then those lives are going to touch other people. And that's where you hear that legendary part that he left his stamp with those people. So brother, I'm sorry for being long with it. Go ahead and give your perspective on it. I'm sorry.
All good points. You know, I say you should don't die with dreams. Okay, you should die with memories. You know, because you did your purpose. You did what you were put here to do. You know, and to go to your question of what it takes. Thoughts, dreams broken down into steps become a plan. A plan backed by action becomes reality. You know, if I was going to tell a young man how to win nowadays, I tell him, we coming up on a new year right now. We're coming up on 2025. Get you a piece of paper and write down exactly what you want to achieve in 2025. Okay. I'm talking about personal, financial, spiritual, relationship. Put it on paper. The most successful people in society, the 3%, if you talk to them, they write their goals down at the beginning of the year. You know, and when you do that, what does it do? It gives you a track to run on. Okay, you know exactly where you're going. You know, and you can evaluate those goals every 3 months and know whether you're on track or not, or what adjustments you got to make. You know, to be able to get yourself on track. The ultimate success formula. 4 steps. Okay. Step number 1. Decide precisely what you want to achieve. I ain't talking about guessing about it. And I'm talking about decide exactly what it is that you want to achieve. Step number 2. Take the necessary actions that are going to produce those results. Step number 3. Have the ability to look at the results you're getting. Okay. Are they taking you farther away from your goals or moving you closer to your goals? And step number 4, have the flexi acuity to be able to use that information to be able to adjust yourself onto the target that you're trying to hit. Yeah, it's just that simple. You know, life is complicated. No, let me be back there. Life is simple, but we make it complicated.
Mhm.
We make it complicated. So if a young man wants to achieve in this day and age, it's simple. You know, listen to brothers like us. You know, I mean, I retired when I was 48 years old. Okay. You know, and life is interesting, right? Because you get to live it forward. But guess what? You get to understand it backwards. You know, and we have a responsibility, you know, to teach the young brothers early what we learn late. And we, as you know, mentors or husbands, we have a responsibility to make sure that we put that information out there, you know, so they don't have to go through the struggle, you know, that we went through. But that's my piece, honest.
All right, Conquer, those are the 3 key points. So what other points would you like to throw out into the cycle?
You know, I think we done ran this one, brother.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Look,
Okay.
you know, we could probably cook for another 2, 3, 4, 5 hours of this. But
Hmm.
let's hold on to the second key points of each gentleman that's on here, and we'll ride to the next one on State of the Man number 3. This is a building block. It's a building block. And when you have no vision, the people perish. And it's obvious that the 4 of us, along with Brother OD, who's not on here now, that was the first, was another intricate part of a building block of not wanting to see a specific part of his generation perish either. For me, this is what I see. We often want to take people of whom we think are pinnacles in the community based on education and degrees and accolades based on faith and religion and church to be the forefront and the spokesman of us. They speak nothing like us, even when they use the word. They cannot speak to the younger generation. They cannot articulate to someone who's been destroyed and ruined in the church. They can't speak to anybody who's been beat down and finagled in the church. But we've all come out of the church and we have that understanding. Sometimes it ain't always up for us to go to them. They may need to start coming to us because we're trying to help them save something that they have the building for. Other than that, we already see that it's the newest nightclub. I'm just not afraid to say it. It's in there. It's written. If they want me to show it to them, I would. I got over 300 some videos on there. They ain't say nothing yet. They ain't say nothing because they won't. That sounds cocky and it sounds arrogant, brother. But you know what? God said you must be bold as a lion. I have that boldness. I'm harmless as a dove, but I know how to strike as a snake. I didn't create the snake. I listened to him. That sounds harsh, but my mind is renewed. It said, let this mind be in you like the mind of Christ Jesus, which is a renewed mind. There was nobody or nothing in between the mind of Christ Jesus and his mind. Well, because when he went into the wilderness, he was already tested by one thing, and that was the devil. And he won. So when you let your mind be in you like the mind of Christ Jesus, man doesn't supersede Jesus either. Because most of them are the damn devil. I'm not afraid. So I'm not hearing that until you can come to the table about truth. This is our community, our children, our daughters, our sons. And even though we may have erred, we weren't taught right. Now we know better and we're trying to fix. Don't come against us. Help. Because if not, I don't care, Pastor, if you got the Bentleys, your daughter's going to be drugged by a Negro in the streets just like you. So if you want to fix it, this is the answer. Get over your ego and your pride and them seven deadly sins. I don't care if you're Nebuchadnezzar, the mighty king that know he heard from God. I don't care if you Eli when you got wicked sons. See, there's always one son that was younger than you that know a little son. Ain't trying to help. So you feel it, ain't you? There's always one. But they try to run away from it. That's your kingdom, Pastor. If you don't want to save it, keep playing. It's already over for 99% of y'all. Remember, he went for the one and not the 99. You forgot he was talking about the church too. 99% of y'all gone. So goodbye. And I rest. You know how to hold back, bro. He only coming back for one church anyway. You better read the book of Revelation. It was 7 churches that he was talking about. 6.5 of them were worth shit. Don't get mad at me. You should have read your Bible before you got up in that pulpit playing. I'm saving mine and mine only.
For brothers, I'm sorry that I was tardy because they switched my assignment and I wasn't here in the beginning, but it's always a pleasure to be able to sit down and decipher. And just like I always say to Conqueror, I hope that the content and the information that we're putting out is going to help some brothers out here. And if they listen, then those who have ears, let them hear. It's going to be very beneficial. And it's always good to have the chop up. So,
Well,
go ahead.
Before we close, you know, we got the uncut version that everybody get a copy of. And then we put out the edited version. Right? Because everybody ain't here. And our goal is not to shy people away. We can just be real men because we know real things. This is our freedom. If we never have this, man, you know how we will be? Caged animals, man. We'd be Paul forever. So, you know, we end with a prayer, man. And who want to lead the prayer tonight? I don't care. You know, it don't matter.
What'd you say?
Who gonna say the prayer tonight, man, when we close out?
Yes, I'll do it.
Let's do it, bro.
All right. Merciful Father, in the name of Jesus Christ, I'd like to thank the opportunity that you brought all of us together and hope that the things that we're saying can help touch, reach other men and bring them back into the image in which you wanted us to be. Allow us to be used as a tool that we can reach out to many people as possible in order to help them with their goals and help them with their life and to help reestablish manhood and where it needs to be the way that you created us to be. Father God, stay with each one of us as we go on our paths and make sure that you give us the discernment and the strength to do all the things that we need to do. And I ask for all of these things in Jesus Christ's holy name. Amen.
Amen.
Always a pleasure, brother. Always a pleasure. Thank you so much, man. And hopefully we can get the next cypher done before this time. But if not, Happy New Year's to each one of y'all, brothers. And y'all be safe.
Likewise,
and
man.
I'm always here for you. If you need me, I'm just a phone call away.
Yeah.
You know
It's
it,
always a pleasure.
Absolutely. Be blessed.
All right. If you enjoyed this season 1, episode 2 of The State of Man, please go back and watch our season 1 first episode and stay tuned in for our next third episode. We have one goal here. We want to just teach younger men what we learned later in life. God bless.